First, let's begin with these issues of conflicting orders. One would think that we shouldn't be having this happen. Why are we having it happening then?
Well, I must say that it's really a fallback of what you see in the society right now. One of the things or the mistake that people make is to believe that the legal profession and maybe the judiciary is actually immune to what is going on in the society. But the legal profession is an offshoot of the society, so it's normal when you have some of these things going on. And we should also understand that the parties, the litigants that make use of the courts, they would always approach legal practitioners to help represent them in ventilating whatever kind of grievances they feel. And so the natural place to go to is the courts. And so it's natural to always expect that, so even if when somebody has, what would you call it, maybe whatever kind of desire, be it right or wrong, that has to do with maybe politics, whatever other kind of desire in business world and any other aspect of human endeavor, the natural thing to do is to go to the courts so that he will get some legitimacy to whatever he's angling for. Mm-hmm. And so that's why you find these things happening. And so when these things happen, for example, it's difficult to compel a government institution to take an action which may not be what they want to do, except you have another authority impressing it on them to do that. For example, I don't want to discuss politics, but INEC would naturally not want to do the bidding of everybody in a political party. So the natural thing to do is that those people would approach an institution that can order INEC to do whatever they want. Okay, so that's why you find these things happening in the space, the legal space at the moment.
So yeah, so as the judicial arm of government, shouldn't there be some kind of, regulating kind of a body that ensures that, look, there's a case on this matter in court. Why are we having it in a separate court?
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why the NBA and several well-meaning Nigerians, senior members of the bar, have a problem with what is going on. The thing is that this is a normal human enterprise, and it comes with its own challenges. Now, we are not robots, so you can't say this is the way it must go before you can maybe approach the court for whatever. Now, so but there are precedents. You have the rules there. And that's why when things go wrong, or, we start seeing some of these things happening, people start wondering what is going on with the system, because we should know better. The legal practitioners should know better. We talked about the issue of jurisdiction, for example. Before you approach the court to ask for an order, for example, the court should have jurisdiction to deal with the matter. You can't, for example, go to maybe my business in Anambra State. I would approach a court in Gombe. It doesn't make sense. It's not even not within their territorial jurisdiction to do that. Okay, so that's because we have precedents. The laws are already set. That's why people are angry, or people are not really happy about what is going on. But then when you talk about regulation, that's part of the reasons why. When you talk about regulation, the aspect of regulation that I want to see is that when people err, because there are laws already, when somebody goes against those rules, then the natural thing to do is to call the person to order and say, this is not the right thing to do. And so if there are maybe some kind of punishment for that, even though it may not be a punishment, but some reprimanding of the parties who have gone astray, then definitely should be meted on them.
Do you think that this is a product of corruption in the system?
Well, in as much as I don't want to, sound, give a verdict one way or the other, because when you talk about corruption, it could mean a lot of things. But I won't want to say corruption in that sense, but I would say that it is an ill in the society. It shows that something is wrong. Okay, because when you talk about corruption, there are a lot of factors that can lead to that. Maybe money exchanging hands, and as lawyers, you just don't use words that way. You must be sure of whatever you're saying. Okay, so but apart from that, it is an abnormally. It is something that is wrong going on.
So you don't think that some judges have been compromised?
Well, now the thing is this: I don't speak for the judges, okay, and I'm careful not to make comments that would disparage the judicial arm of government. Our judges are doing well, I must confess, but then definitely you cannot have even in the Bible, for example, you had the apostles, and you still had Judas, okay? And so the bottom line is that definitely everybody will not be on top of the game. There are people who would actually be doing some wrong things there. Like I said again, everybody or legal practitioners and every other person who's an actor there is an offshoot of the society. Okay, you cannot have a terrible society and you expect every other person or maybe the legal profession to be saintly. Okay, I'm not trying to make, but okay, that's the reality on ground.
Okay, so some times ago, few years ago, we saw there was sort of some kind of clampdown on some judges, by security forces. Then this led to a huge outcry, by the members of the judiciary. You cannot arrest judges like that. Yes. There are procedures, there are bodies that are meant to discipline judges and all of that. What's the role of the NBA or the NJC in this, instance in terms of making sure that there's discipline in the judicial arm of government?
Okay, well, first of all, that period was a sad commentary on the nation, because whenever we look at what is plaguing the Nigerian society, that's part of what is plaguing the Nigerian society. Where, for example, now let me look at it from not just a lawyer's perspective, but maybe the business perspective. I don't think if I'm a foreign investor, I want to come into a country where the judges' houses can be broken into in the dead of the night. It speaks volumes. Now, if I'm a foreign investor, for example, and I want to invest, if I have a problem, the people I will run to or the institution I will run to is the courts. And so when they're not protected, okay, it means that I too will not be protected when I run into trouble, because these are the people I will run to. Now, but that's it. It was a very sad commentary on the nation. Now, but when you come down to judges, like I said, I don't speak for the judges, and I won't try to do that too. But we have the NJC and the Judicial Council. One of their job is to maybe discipline erring judges. Okay, and so when there are issues, normally, even in fact, what happens and maybe in courts when they sit and all, people write petitions to NJC and they deal with the matter. The reason why one of the reasons, not just the reason, but one of the reasons why people had an issue with what happened then was because the procedures were not followed. Before you start, maybe push out maybe a judge, for example, to be dealt with the police, the procedures have to be followed. The NJC has to deal with the matter first. Was he wrong in what he did? Okay, is there something showing that what he's accused of was actually right? So by the time he's removed the NJC can now remove him from office, okay? Now, when that happens, then he's now open. You can now say, okay, the police, you can go on and do whatever you want to do with him. And so we have the NJC, and I can tell you, to the best of my knowledge, they're doing a pretty good job over it. I know that on this particular issue, I know that the CJN has actually, I know that he had a meeting with the chief judges of the different states where those conflicting orders came from, and I know that it has trickled down to. I cannot, like I said, I'm not a judge, so I can't talk for them. I don't know how far they've gone, but I know that they're doing something about it. And I think that part of the reason is to instill some order in this. So I think we're happy with that.
Okay, so what's the meeting point between the NJC and the NBA as far as the issues of making sure that there's discipline in the judicial arm? What role is it playing? Because, I mean, conflicting orders are not new to our system. They've been going on until recently, where we are seeing now, an action being taken. In the past, what has been happening, and why haven't we seen this kind of action taken on, judges?
Well, the truth of the matter is that it's more pronounced because it's political matters are really involved. So many times there are times that lawyers must have written petitions, and people it may not make the headline news. I remember there was I think the former CJ of Enugu State at some point. He had an issue, and at some point the NJC had to intervene and remove him from office, and even asked the police to go on with their investigation and all. And so now, but currently, with the current trend now, like I said, we have the NJC, we have the NBA. Now, the NBA deals with the legal practitioners. The truth of the matter is that the NBA or the lawyers have a role to play in whatever must have happened, because a judge does not just make an order just for the fun of it. Before a judge can pronounce, that's why they don't really talk in public or go for interviews and all, because they make their pronouncement in their judgments. And so before a judge maybe writes his opinion or pronouncement on an issue, you must have come to him, bringing your matter before him and asking him, please make this pronouncement one way or the other. And that's where the lawyers come in, okay? And that's so that's why the NBA is also taking. If there was a time immediately after this happened, the president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Olumide Abata, released a press statement on that issue, and saying that the NBA would take some steps, okay, to deal with the legal practitioners who have been a part of this whole thing. We also, I remember too that one of the matters came up to the Court of Appeal in Oka, and the presiding judge, Justice Wosui Heme, also made some comments over it, even in a judgment, and was saying that they should be referred to the disciplinary committee, because lawyers play a major role in that. I may not talk about some of the things that may have gone on behind the scene, but you know that lawyers bring in different antics to get whatever they want from the courts. It may be their oratory skills. It may be pulling a wool on the eyes of the court. For example, not giving all the facts of the matter before the court. So it could actually play on that. Let me not talk about other things, okay? So that's where the lawyers have a role in the whole thing, and that's where NBA, the only thing NBA can do is in relation to the lawyers who play a part in these things, because one of the the sections or the things that make us a little bit unhappy is number one, for example, ex parte applications. Ex parte applications, there are wonderful rules that are already there in the rules of court, and the idea is that when there is an extreme urgency, you make use of that, but not when you want to wreak havoc somewhere. So it speaks volumes when somebody goes to court, without putting the other party on notice, asking for something that could disrupt something else. For example, maybe an election in a state or something. So it speaks volumes about that. If the other party is put on notice, okay, then naturally he will come talking about his own side. So these are part of the things that that has made NBA feel, oh, this is not the right thing to do. But then our concentration is on the lawyers, the legal practitioners, and we are taking steps towards